There's a type of exhaustion that sleep doesn't solve. You can sleep 8, 10 hours and still wake up feeling like living requires too much effort. It's not exactly sadness. It's not a visible collapse. It's something more silent. It's waking up and thinking, I can't sustain this version of my life anymore. And if you've ever felt this, let me tell you something important. It doesn't mean you want to die. It means that some part of you is exhausted from existing the way you are. There's a profound difference between being sad and being tired of being alive. Sadness is an emotion. Existential exhaustion is a state. And states don't arise from nothing. They are constructed. Here begins the strategic part. Existential exhaustion is not weakness. It's a sign of prolonged misalignment. When you spend too much time disconnected from who you truly are, when you perform a life instead of inhabiting it, your internal system starts to demand payment. And the demand comes as exhaustion. Maybe you're functioning normally, working, fulfilling obligations, answering messages, smiling when you need to, but inside, it's automatic. And this generates a dangerous feeling. I'm living, but I don't feel like I'm alive. Keep this phrase in mind because it's central. You're not tired of life. You're tired of the life you're sustaining. There's a huge difference there. Psychology, in some approaches, calls this existential emptiness. But I want to translate this practically. You've built a life based on external expectations for so long that you've lost touch with your internal narrative. And when you no longer know why you do what you do, even breathing feels heavy. Let's organize this. There are some mechanisms that fuel this state. The first is performance overload. We live in a culture where being enough is never enough. You need to evolve, produce, be interesting, be stable, be emotionally intelligent, be strong. And when you fail at any of these invisible metrics, you blame yourself. This creates an internal tyrant, and nobody can stand living under constant pressure 24 hours a day. The second mechanism is identity breakdown. Maybe you're no longer who you thought you were. Maybe your plans have changed. Maybe that version of you died and you haven't built another one yet. When identity collapses, meaning goes with it. And living without meaning is exhausting. Third point, accumulation of micro-stresses. It's not just major traumas. It's small, repeated disappointments, small, swallowed silences, small, forced adaptations, small concessions of your truth. This accumulates until one day you wake up and you simply don't want to keep sustaining all of this. Now, I need to have a gentle confrontation with you. Maybe you're waiting for a grand purpose to appear to feel alive again. But here's an uncomfortable truth. Waiting for absolute clarity before acting is an elegant way to remain stagnant. Clarity doesn't generate action. Movement generates clarity. That's the strategic shift. You won't solve existential fatigue by thinking more. You solve it by changing micro things in practice. So let's get to what really matters. If you're feeling tired of existing, I want to propose an exercise for the next 24 hours. Simple, executable. Today, you will cancel a single performance. Just one. It could be not faking enthusiasm in a conversation, saying, I don't know, instead of asserting certainty, not responding to a message immediately. Don't laugh at something you didn't find funny. You're going to remove a small mask and you're going to observe what happens. Existential fatigue is often the cost of maintaining too many masks for too long. And energy begins to return when you stop spending energy sustaining versions that aren't yours. Second practical exercise. Choose a micro moment of real presence today. A coffee without your cell phone, a 10-minute walk, a conversation where you truly listen, not to find the meaning of life, but to remember that you still feel. Because the opposite of existential fatigue isn't euphoria, it's connection. And let me say something important here. If you have frequent thoughts of disappearing, of not existing, or feel you've completely lost interest in life, this isn't just philosophical. Seek professional help. Therapy isn't weakness, it's emotional maturity. Here we talk about real growth. Menos and growth includes asking for support when needed. Now let me return a strategic question to you. Are you tired of existing, or are you tired of living disconnected from yourself? Because they are different things. And the second has a practical solution. Tiredness can be a collapse, but it can also be an invitation to change pace, an invitation to abandon personas, an invitation to rebuild your narrative. States change, but they only change when we decide not to continue living on autopilot. So I want you to comment on something very specific. What small performance will you cancel in the next 24 hours? Don't comment on something generic. Comment on something real. Here we don't accumulate awareness. We transform clarity into movement. And maybe you're not tired of existing. Maybe you're just ready to start living in a more authentic way.